It's essential in the golf swing to shift your weight forward towards the target. If you don't, you're just leaking a huge amount of power. A lot of amateurs fall into the trap of hitting up on the ball, which is good, but not shifting their weight forward while they do it, which is bad.
Now, every PGA Tour player moves their weight forwards or the middle of their belt buckle linearly before they open up. They might do it all at different times, but that is a key move they make. Now, if I look at most people that I see on the lesson tee, we have the idea we want to open, but forget this. So I'm going to break it down into 4 key points and 2 drills to do this. That's going to transform, I would say, your entire game in terms of distance. Those 4 key areas are, we need to move laterally before we open. Your trail heel needs to stay a little bit ahead of your toe. Sounds strange, but believe me on this one. Your hips need to get back to their starting position before the shoulders. And the final one is we need to learn when to push into the ground. So the first thing that I would do with any golfer is just to learn what that sequence is. We often think of the golf swing as, okay, if I'm gonna fix it, I'll get my golf club out straight away. Whereas actually, sometimes there's just a little bit of coordination we need to improve first. So let's start with that point. Now this is the coordination. I've set up a really simple station that I think you could actually do at home while watching this video. I've got this red alignment stick, which is gonna sit underneath my armpit. I've got my black alignment stick, which would just be one that is sitting parallel to my target line. And because I've got driver, the ball happens to be where the red alignment stick is. But if you were doing this with an iron, just be aware that the ball position would just be a little bit further back. Now, I mentioned a few key points here, and what I want to get into first is I want your hips to be back to a starting position before your shoulders. Now, the way to do this is watch. Club across your chest, and I like to make sure it's square just because I got that awareness of where it is. I make that backswing, and I want you to focus on this. I want you to feel, and this is the coordination, the middle of your belt buckle is starting to move laterally towards that red line and point to your inner thigh. So watch that. And as I'm doing this, I'm trying my damnedest to keep my chest this way. And all I want you to do is some slow reps to get that coordination all the way down to impact. Now, if I had a junior, a blank slate, this is what I would do with them before they even hit golf balls, because we're improving the coordination, and over a little bit of time, realistically, we would see this come into their swing. The start of your downswing, I want you to focus on the 2 key elements. The belt buckle's moving towards the red, and then trying to start to get it to point towards your inner thigh. I mean, look at the movement I've got here. It's super athletic, it's super coordinated in this direction. So maybe 10, 15 reps every other day at home, working that way would be a great way to improve the start of this. Now, taking this a little further at this first stage, we could then just start to hit some very slow shots with that feeling. And I mean slow, just so you get the sensation of what it's like to have a golf club in your hand, making that same move to start the downswing. So remember, first point of this is understanding the coordination. I'm getting my middle of my belt buckle to move over the red and point to my inner thigh and get back to the starting position before your shoulders. So it's not this. I want them to get back to the starting position before your shoulders. Okay, let me show you this. I've got a great example here of Scotty. Now, Scotty Scheffler, one of the, I guess, the craziest footwork in golf, but I really want you to look at what happens in his swing. So if I put some yellow lines on here, one of them, armpit line, the second one is the middle of his pelvis. I want you to watch how he starts his downswing here. Like, watch this movement. There is such a movement in this direction before an open. Like, watch this now. Lateral, lateral. Now we're starting to open into this golf ball, into impact. So if you look at where he started, which was this line, to where his middle of his pelvis is now, which is around here, that's moved, I mean, on the screen, let's say a fingertip in this direction. It's probably like 4, 5, maybe 6 inches forwards of its starting point. If we look at this and go, how are we now learning to open up? This is where I want you to start to learn to press in to the ground. So going back to those 4 things that I mentioned at the start of this video, laterally before you open, trail heel stays ahead of your toe, back to your starting point with your hips before your shoulders, and the final one, learning to push into the ground. This is what we're looking at now. Just want to say one thing. The reason why I feel that the heel stays ahead of the toe, it just stops us being that person that spins out of it, okay? A lot of you always ask about my golf ball. This is the Tracer line ball from Vice, right? Now, at the start of the season, that's using a different ball. Because I've improved and got a little bit faster, I went on their ball fitting tool, and now I'm in the Pro Plus. I've chosen for the Tracer purely because with driver at address, I know if my face is closed, open, or square, but also then on the putting, I can sort of put it down as like a track and then use this line and that line to line me up. Now, you can use my discount code here and I'll leave a link down below. You can check out and save at the checkout. Let's get back to this video. I've been doing this with a student actually, and it's crazy how much more forward the hands start to fall. So what I would love for you to focus on now, bringing this all together as one, we've got our first element as our start of our down, but as our hands start to get, let's say, around your right thigh, can you feel you push into the ground? No, not just in any way. If you looked at your front foot now, right? I'm looking down on it. I want you to imagine there's a clock face. 12 o'clock? 6 o'clock? Okay. That would make around about here 11:30. Okay. Now the reason why I like 11:30, it sort of moves into the swing thoughts that I want to give you, and I'll give you a list of these right at the end. I want you to feel you're pushing towards that 11:30. Now, simply, if I push into the ground, we get our leg to straighten. In the golf swing, that would help move our hips this way, okay? Bit like an ice skater. If it pushed into the ground, the ice skate would move. You'd use it to push off. So just bringing that into a full picture here for you. A little bit of lateral, push into the ground. This is what we're looking to do. So we've got push. So nice and simply, I would just think of this as I'm pushing to 11:30 out on the golf course. So bringing that as sort of a model, I'm really focusing on 11:30. And it really gives me a chance of moving way more dynamically than I was before. Now this is crazy. And the reason why I love this one is Matt Fitzpatrick, over the last, let's say 18 months, probably 24 months, has put on a significant amount of yardage. Now, he's not the biggest guy on tour, but he's certainly up there in terms of driving accuracy and distance. So watch this. So again, the focus points here have to be, if I have middle of the pelvis at the starting point, just here, I want you to look at this. It moves forwards and he's pressing down into that ground. Look how open he gets. So your whole idea of just opening up for me is wrong in the sense of you're doing it too late. You're just spinning out of it. We need to have that simple idea now that before we have any ounce of open, which in your mind has got to be a push now, we need to send our belt buckle this way. So on the golf course, I know you realistically can't have an alignment stick, but what you can have is this imaginary line that sits under your armpit of this way, push, to help us move way more dynamically in the golf swing. And I believe no matter age or ability, you can do a tiny little bit of this. Yes, if we're a little bit older, it's going to be a little bit less, but understanding the sequence, those 4 points, is the way in which you're going to be a much better golfer. Thanks so much for watching.